We got our editing cut out for us here.
You're the editor.
Good grief. It's kind of like produced by the Beach Boys. I know Smiley Smile says produced by the Beach Boys. We know it was all Brian, but still.
So you can hear me.
Yeah, and I purposely did not say we're rolling so as to not prompt
I'm not
you.
going to do that. Just nah.
Oh, what are you going to do given that this is episode 26, which is the second time we changed our planned topic for episode 26?
Yeah, really. The one we actually recorded to be this one. Who knows when that's actually
that was actually recorded to be episode 25.
When did we record that?
I think February? We are not good at keeping a regular schedule. Of course, it didn't help that I had viral bronchitis that shot my voice for a week.
Yeah, that didn't help.
No, but hey, anyway, this is indeed episode 26 of Tune X Podcast, and I'm one of the co-hosts. My name is Sean.
And I'm Lisa.
And we're a couple of Gen Xers who are big Beach Boys fans, big Brian Wilson fans. And so we talk about them a lot. And we figured, hey, let's record ourselves talking, since we talk a lot about anyway, and other people might want to hear what we have to say. So lucky you. Anyway, this is kind of a, I don't know how to describe it. I was going to say emergency episode, but that sounds like a lot too harsh.
Yeah, because we actually did have another topic planned that we were going to work on within the next week or so, but we decided to put that aside for a more immediate discussion.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, we got to talk about this. The passing of Brian Wilson.
Yeah.
This past Wednesday.
Yeah, I mean, here I am constantly saying this can't just be the Brian Wilson show. And he keeps making it about himself.
Well, I mean, it's like,
Brian.
I mean, he's the central figure. You can't.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, while it's good to talk about other people and their contributions, I mean, Brian's at the center. And what I'd like for us to do with this episode is kind of process what we've been thinking the past couple days, just what's been going on in our respective heads and hearts. And also just talk about like how we're going to remember Brian and where do we go from here? Because we knew this was inevitable. And
many of us thought it was going to be more inevitable now, given how things have been going lately.
Well, I mean, both with the dementia diagnosis, I mean, while that isn't necessarily a death sentence, it's still people usually pass within just a few years of that diagnosis. I mean, it happens.
Yeah, and the man was 82 years old, too. So.
And also with even more so, Melinda passing last year. I mean, we've seen it just in our own personal lives. People who lose their spouse, someone they were extremely close to. And even though the surviving spouse was in good health, they were gone within a couple months to just a year or two. So it definitely happens.
Yeah, and I'm sure losing a lot of people in the last couple of years didn't help Brian at all, like Joe Thomas and Billy Hinsche.
Jeff Foster. Mickey Wonder.
Oh, yeah, that was like 6 years ago, but still.
Yeah, but it still feels pretty recent. It still feels pretty recent, especially because, he was quite a bit younger than Brian. I mean, it wasn't his time.
Yeah,
and
he was in good shape. And
it shocked all of us. So, I mean, I think for an older person too, seeing a younger person pass is a very hard thing to take.
Oh, absolutely. I can imagine.
So yeah, we just felt the need to take a moment to just kind of go through this whole thing, because even though it's not a huge shock, it's still something that we and all of our friends in the fan community and people in Brian's band, posts that we've seen online, everybody is kind of struggling with that this just hit everybody really, really hard.
Yeah.
And again, grieving is a process. No matter how expected things might be, it still takes time. And you have to give space for that. You have to respect that and take care of yourself and take care of others as best as you can. So I found out when I was at school, it was our last week of school, and I had just had a meeting with a few staff members for a summer program that I'm running at the school. And when the meeting was over, I was going to have my lunch, and I just sat down at my computer and just went to social media just for a little break, and had seen several people had shared the post from Brian Wilson's official Facebook page. I'm not much of a crier. I don't like to cry because it often gives me a headache, and it doesn't give me the feelings that a lot of people get from having a good cry. Like, it often I'd rather laugh to release things. That's just how I am. But I cried. I really did. It just came out of me. And I was very thankful that I wasn't in a room with other people. I was just in my classroom by myself. I wasn't around other people, so I could have my moment.
And then I found out when you called me right after you found out, I was busy washing a box of singles that we have. So I wasn't poking around the internet or anything. I was just washing singles and listening to podcasts. And I saw your name come up on my phone, which always sends me into a panic attack because you do not like to call me.
Well, I don't like to call anybody.
You don't like to call anybody. You usually use textual communications
and especially,
of some kind.
I don't call you like during a school day unless it's extremely important, at which this was.
Yeah, that was the thing. It's like, okay, this is either going to be a super, super duper awesome or really, really bad. There's no in between. And it was really, really bad. And yeah, I mean, I was taken aback. I mean, yeah, again, I kind of figured it was going to happen sooner than later, given all kinds of things, Brian's advanced stage, but the dementia diagnosis might have something to do with it and all this, but still, I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't ready, I don't think. I mean, I had been bracing myself for about 20, 30 years, knowing that would probably happen eventually.
Yeah.
And, I mean, yeah, there was a tear shed here and there, but this is going to be weird, but mostly what has been going through my mind in the last few days, we're recording this episode on June 14th, 3 days after we found out. What has been going through my mind was kind of similar, believe it or not, as to how I felt when my dad died, in that I've been feeling more thankful than anything else. Case in point, my dad, I remember in 1993, just because of like how he was like coughing nonstop and all this, I'm like, this dude's not going to live to see the end of the year. He lived to be 81 years old. I didn't think I was going to have him in my life that long. So I was thankful. I was much more thankful than I was sad. And it was kind of similar with Brian because I'm thinking, good Lord. Okay, first of all, he wasn't too far from my dad in terms of age. Like, he was only 2 years younger than my dad was. And so in a way, I'm looking at someone who is on the hierarchical level of my father in a way. Like, he's from that exact same generation, really. Yeah. And the fact that after all the crap that Brian had done to himself and the crap that was done to him and the crap he was born with, that he was able to conquer so much.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I came into the fan community right around the time Brian was definitely getting better. Like, he was just at the tail end of the second Landy era. He was off drugs. He was in better shape. So he was definitely well on the road to being much better off than he ever was. So I never knew what it was like to think, oh my God, is Brian going to be next?
Yeah.
That was never part of my life. And things that have happened, things that he had done over the years that I didn't think were ever going to happen. I didn't think I'd ever get to meet him at a meet and greet. I never thought I'd get to see him in concert unless he made a random appearance with the Beach Boys, as he was wont to do once in a while. I didn't know he was going to do a solo tour. I never dreamed that he would go on stage and do my favorite album of all time from start to finish. I knew for a provable, absolute, unchangeable fact he would never touch Smile.
Oh, yeah.
That was never going to happen. I resigned myself to knowing that I'd never get to actually speak to the man and make physical contact with him. All of that happened.
Yeah.
It all happened.
Well, it's also to look at how many albums he recorded between Imagination and At My Piano.
Yeah.
And he met the Queen of England. He met the Queen of England and said, "Hi, Queen." That's one of my favorite Brian stories. He created an album by request. He was commissioned to make That Lucky Old Son. I mean, that's just, not every pop musician gets to do something like that.
Nope.
And he got an honorary doctorate. I mean, just all the things he accomplished.
Didn't you love it when Jeff would sometimes call him Dr. Wilson?
Which
he legitimately could.
He got the Kennedy Center honors.
Yep.
I mean, it's just all the things that he did and all the things that happened and all the accolades from pretty much every major music press, Rolling Stone, Mojo, NME, you know, all these things honored him over the years. And I mean, this is definitely a case of don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened.
Yeah.
And of course, smile, get it?
Yeah, I see what you did there.
You got it. But I mean, that's a famous quote from Dr. Seuss. It's like, just have gratitude. And I mean, that's, you know, when you kind of look at this whole thing, I mean, I know somebody who years ago, I think it was some really big celebrity death like Michael Jackson or somebody. And this person was like, "Oh, they're just a celebrity. They don't matter. And you didn't even know them." And like, not talking to any specific person, just in general, and being very cynical about it. And it's like, of course you didn't, you know, this isn't the same as losing a parent or a close friend. But it's still an important part of your life. And it's still something you do have to kind of sit with and process.
And for God's sakes, without him, we would not know each other at all.
Exactly. And, you know, when I think of all the people I've met from various directions, both the internet and our Beach Boys classes at the Old Town School, like, different people I have met because of Brian's music. I mean, it's a very important part of my life.
Yep.
And it's something, I mean, I've posted on my social media different things about, not like I post about every day, but I mean, times that I've mentioned, you know, like Pet Sounds Day, or I mentioned Brian's birthday or something like that. And I always mention Brian's birthday because I always found it kind of poetic that he was born the day before the first day of summer.
Yep.
I mean, that's just perfect. Right
of
there.
course.
So, I mean, a lot of people in my life know that Brian's music means a lot to me, that you and I met because of Pet Sounds, that I went to over 30 concerts over the years and all of that. So what really touched me is people in my life, in my own personal life, who said, "Hey, are you okay?" Or "I heard the news and I thought of you." And that's just really beautiful when people reach out like that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, like a friend of mine who I haven't really, you know, heard from because she doesn't post on social media much, and we just haven't been keeping in touch like we used to. She posted just because she heard the news, and she went to my Facebook and posted a reply to what I had put up. And after I got the news, you know, the bell rang to end period 5, and my work bestie who's next door, who also really likes Brian's
Well,
music.
she likes all kinds of music
Oh
too.
yeah, but she definitely appreciates Pet Sounds, and she knows what a big fan I am. So I went next door and I just told her, she didn't have any students in her classroom, and I said, Brian Wilson died, and she said, "Do you need a hug?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I mean, things like that are very sweet. And you heard from...
Yeah, one of my best friends from high school, actually. Last time I heard from her was 3.5 years ago. And before then, we were in touch all the time. Like, email was our main communication. And just suddenly I stopped hearing back from her. And I figured...
Well, everybody
yeah,
did.
seriously, everybody
so it's not
did.
Just you.
It wasn't just me. And I'm thinking, crap, I guess it means we're just done or something. But no, I got an email from her on...
It was like, wasn't it Wednesday night?
I'm trying to remember what day the 11th was.
Wednesday.
It was
Wednesday.
that day. It was that night.
It was
yeah.
Wednesday, yeah.
Yeah. And she said, "Hey, I heard that Dr. Demento is retiring and that Brian Wilson died. And these things usually happen in threes. And I just want to make sure that you're okay before whatever number 3 is going to be happens." And, she said, "I know I haven't been in touch with everybody in a while, but just know that I'm always thinking of all of you." And I just wanted to reach out and give her a big ass hug.
Oh, yeah,
yeah. But yeah, we have that. And something else that I noticed, that fans are coming out of the woodwork. A couple of people I'm friends with, like in real life, quote unquote, and just electronically, are saying, "Oh my God, I heard Brian Wilson died. This is just devastating. I was always a big fan of the Beach Boys' Love You." And I'm like, "Wait, what?" Like, I mean, like, The Night Was So Young is one of my favorites. I was like, when did this happen? When did you ever hear about the Beach Boys? Have you noticed that on your end?
Actually, there are a couple people who, now that I think of it, there are some people who I never really heard mention Brian or the Beach Boys before, but they posted like their own post about, and maybe shared a YouTube link to a song or shared something. And, and also I really love seeing, it's funny in my Facebook, like if I wasn't on the most current setting, if it was just kind of the general feed thing where it's just like the algorithm, like
you might get something from last month.
Well, also you get stuff that you normally don't follow.
Yeah.
So I was seeing, the algorithm, it was just basically all Brian all the time.
I'm still getting that 3 days later.
So like seeing posts from people or businesses or different interests that I don't normally follow that posted about, like a long post from Jeff Bridges, who's a lifelong fan. Patton Oswalt.
That was new to me. Then again, I don't really know much about Patton Oswalt.
And like Jamie Lee Curtis and, just all these different people. And that thing I shared from Melissa Rivers, Joan Rivers' daughter, who put like a scan of, I don't know if it was a tabloid.
I think it was People Weekly, I think.
Where it's like picture of like Joan and Brian and implying that they were a thing. And she's like, they were never a thing.
By the way, I want to pause the podcast right now just to, so we're talking about Joan and Melissa Rivers. I want to insert in one of my favorite Brianisms from when the Beach Boys, I don't know if it was the Tonight Show and she was filling in, or if it was from her own talk show that she had later on and the Beach Boys were, I think it was when she was filling in for Johnny Carson. Yeah, because Brian had the beard. So it would have been 85. So here it is after Joan asked Brian what it's like to be single.
Being single is like liking a Phil Spector record. There's no separation from the two.
The Neon Museum in Las Vegas posted.
Really? How did I not see that?
I thought I told you about it.
I don't pay attention.
Yeah, just so many. I can't even. One thing I really loved was because I saw posts from different companies that has associations, such as Fender. And it's like, of course, because the Beach Boys definitely, I don't know if it's so much as put Fender on the map, because of course a lot of other popular artists had been using Fender, but they sure didn't hurt.
Yeah.
Like, I think they really did a lot to help promote Fender because they used Fender guitars, Fender basses, and
I'm sure they used a Fender Rhodes keyboard here and there too.
Yeah. So,
Fender
but-
6.
but one thing I loved, I saw this yesterday, the Pendleton Woolen Mills Company
Yes.
had posted several of the photos from the Paradise Cove shoot where they're wearing Pendleton shirts and just acknowledge. It was a little bit of a post, and to just acknowledge, using the signature Pendleton shirts, and of course how, I don't know exactly when, but Pendleton created a replica of the plaid of the shirts that they were wearing on the cover of Surfin' Safari and Surfer Girl. And they started selling those shirts, and those shirts are actually called Beach Boy Plaid.
Yep.
And we have them.
Yep. We posted a picture of
Oh, yeah.
ourselves in those things.
At Paradise
Cove. Yeah. Oh, dude, did you see that? I think it was just today. They released or somebody leaked or released or something, a few seconds of that last meeting at Paradise Cove.
No, I did not.
Yeah, you can very faintly hear them singing "Their Hearts Were Full of Spring" with Brian taking the lead.
Okay, I'm not okay.
Yeah.
I've been having periods of being not okay when I hear certain things.
It's very hard to hear because it wasn't from any of their microphones or anything. It was from off in the distance, and you hear mostly ocean waves.
Well,
but if you turn it up really loud.
Well, as you should.
Well, yeah.
So, I thought those kinds of things are very touching. But what really got me was on Instagram. I saw Carney posted a reel. I've been following Carney for quite some time because she's a hoot. And she posted a reel on Instagram where, she was sitting outside, and she's like, I had to get outside. And she talked about how just reading all the posts and comments and articles and everything, just how overwhelming it all is to see the support from everywhere, every corner of the world, and just all the love. And and she said last year she asked her father if he really knew how much love there was for him and how many people were affected by his music. And he said he did know. And I'm very grateful that Carney wanted to share that.
Yeah.
She wanted all the fans to know that, yeah, Brian loved all of you. And she mentioned too how even though he was her daddy, she was also a fan of his music too. So it's she gets it. She totally gets it. Yeah, I really love that she took a little bit of time to just thank people for, sharing their feelings and I guess kind of letting the family know that they're not alone in their grief.
Yeah.
And I mean, I remember when my father passed away, one of the first people I called was a friend who I had known since I was 5 years old. So she knew my dad very well. And so it really hit her hard to hear the news. And she said, is there anything I can do for you? And I said, well, just the fact that you care is all I need. That was something very important to me at that time. Just knowing that people cared about my dad's memory, about me. I really feel what Carney was getting at. But I love that she wanted to talk to everybody.
Something that I could not help but think, I mean, in that video, she had no makeup on whatsoever. And without the makeup that she usually has on, it's hard to, I'm looking at that. It's she's a dead ringer for her father.
Yeah.
It's no, she's a dead ringer for her mother. Or is it Brian that she looks more like? No, she looks more like Marilyn. No,
well, that's how, I mean, it's kind of like with me, I mostly look more like my dad, but there are times I also look like my mother too, especially when she was younger. So yeah, I mean, that kind of happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, just processing all of this, listening to different things. And, since I had a classroom to myself, I was listening to to music for a little bit, because normally in my school day, I'm very rarely in a space by myself. The way things have been this school year. In the past, it wasn't like that, but this school year, I had like no time in my own classroom, when there were no students or anybody else around. And I really hate wearing headphones. So I usually just wouldn't even listen to music during the day. But this time I had that opportunity. So the first thing I played was Heroes and Villains.
Good choice.
Stereo version from the Smile Sessions, the whole long version. And then right after that, Rio Grande, which I highly recommend.
Yeah.
And of course, an immediate thought at that time was, okay, the man has died, but the music hasn't. And that was something even Carney said in her video, that we will always have the music.
Yeah.
That Brian left behind an extraordinary amount of music.
And I'll bet we haven't even heard most of it. Seriously, there's probably treasure troves of recordings that are sitting there waiting to be heard that are still going to blow our minds. But when I came to a point when I could listen to music, because I'm not talking emotionally, I'm talking physically, because I had a stack of records in the kitchen that I was washing in the spin clean. I didn't want to leave them out and forget about them, so I put them away. And when I finally got things cleaned up, I'm thinking, the thing is, like, I've been on a Beach Boys kick for about a week. I mean, I'm a big fan, of course, but I mean, just lately, I've been really wanting to hear more of them. And of course, I'm thinking, okay, now that Brian has gone on to the next phase of his life, what can I listen to right now to just really honor him? And I settled on the Beach Boys' Love You. And I might have said this before in a previous episode, but it is one of my top 5 favorite Beach Boys albums. It's not 1, it's not 2. That's Pet Sounds and Sunflower. But one thing that I absolutely adore about the Beach Boys' Love You, and anybody who followed me on social media has already seen what I had to say about it. But a thing that I love about it so much is that I honestly think it is the most honest and straightforward you're ever going to get from Brian in terms of music. If you want to know what's going on in Brian's soul, I think especially the stuff he recorded in 1976, 1977, specifically for that album, that's where you're really going to find it, where he really bears his soul. You really get a feel for, because Brian was a quirky guy, very quirky guy. And it comes out to play. That quirkiness comes out to play on the Beach Boys' Love You. And man, I mean, and it really also drives home how badly he needed a lyrical collaborator. But I mean, like, Mercury's close to the sun, and if Mars had life on it,
I might find my wife on it. And of course, he gets together with Roger McGuinn, and these two legends. The best they could come up with was, "I love my girl. I love her so much."
I seem to remember when he was on the Kevin Matthews show on WOUP in 1992. Somebody asked him about Ding Dang. He said that there was actually a verse to it that they ended up not using. And I think he actually sang it too. He had his 12-string with him, his acoustic 12-string. And I have that on tape somewhere. I gotta find it. If I can miraculously find it by the time we publish this episode, I'll drop it in and, take a risk that McGuinn's and WLUP's lawyers are going to come down on me. But I had to listen to that. And then the next day in the morning, I think it's because of a conversation you and I had not terribly long ago when you were asking me, hey, what other songs are on Brian's 88 album besides Rio Grande and Love and Mercy? And then I'm kind of naming songs and we're all like, oh yeah, that's a good song. That's a good song too. That's a good song too. And they were like, what else is on that album? And I said, wait a minute, I think we named every single song on there. And we said, like, on every single song, yeah, that's a good one too. I'll be honest, I'm not a fan of Little Children, and sometimes Nighttime kind of gets to me because it sounds so Moon and June.
Nighttime is the last.
And every time I hear it, I can't help but think of the leather pants.
Oh my.
So I realized I don't think I ever heard Brian's 88 album on vinyl. I've only heard it on cassette and CD. And of course, from my iPod, my phone, my computer, and all that. Let me hear it on vinyl. So naturally, here I am listening to a song that was recorded digitally, in some cases performed digitally, mixed digitally on an analog medium. Go figure. Of course, I realize a lot of our records are like that, but I'm sitting there and something hit me that I never noticed before. Ever since I first listened to the album, or first was getting into the album in, say, 1989, 1990, I was under the impression that There's So Many starts side 2. It does not. It's at the end of side 1. And my world was just turned upside down after noticing. And actually, getting a little more serious here. I don't want to say upside down, but my world feels a lot different after hearing that Brian has gone. Like, I feel like I'm living in a different world. I'm not necessarily saying it's a bad thing.
It's just,
it feels different, and it's making me think a lot more about the stuff that I'm listening to. And I'm getting a lot more analytical about Brian's music now that I'm hearing it after he died. And I don't know why. It's just kind of awakening more senses in me somehow.
Well, it's also, kind of where I'm sitting is like, you would remember because we both watched this back. We watched an interview with Al Roker and Charles Schultz, and this was set to air, I believe, shortly before the end of the Peanuts strip, which also was, Charles Schultz died the night before that last strip was printed. Al Roker kind of stopped for a moment and he said, "There's been a Peanuts strip every day that I've been alive."
Mm-hmm.
It kind of hit him hard that...
And he was 50 years old at the time.
There wasn't going to be any more
Mm-hmm.
Peanuts. And it's like, something you've had for your whole life was going to be over. And it's that kind of thing that I was thinking about that Brian has existed my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
And his music has existed for my entire life. What kind of hit me again was after Rio Grande, I didn't get to finish because I was interrupted, but I was going to listen to the trifecta, which is California Girls, Let 'Em Run Wild, and The Little Girl I Once Knew. You could also make that the quadrifecta by adding in Guess I'm Dumb.
Hell yeah.
So it's kind of this pack of amazing 1965 gorgeousness. And I was listening to Let 'Em Run Wild, and it kind of smacked me in the head how this song was something that I got really into when I was a kid, when I was like 10 years old, maybe.
Wow.
That was over 40 years ago. And it's like, oh my God, this stuff has been a part of my life forever. Because I remember, so when I was, I guess probably about 9 or 10 was when I was first allowed to be home by myself. And I know nowadays people would be horrified at the thought of a 10-year-old being home alone. It wasn't for that long, people. It was, I had...
Past the statute of limitations anyway.
One day a week after school, I would go right to a Girl Scout meeting. And the Girl Scout meeting was at the rescue squad building that was 3 blocks from my house. So I was allowed to walk home and let myself in. And I was only going to be home alone for maybe an hour at the very most. Probably not even that long, just because I think the meeting probably ended like 4 or 4:30. And then my mom got home from work like a little bit after 5. So it was like the first time that I was ever home by myself. And I loved it. And a lot of times I would spend that time playing the Beach Boys' Endless Summer at probably a very loud volume. But that was, I think that was when I first really started getting kind of deep into that music. And Let 'Em Run Wild was something that just hit me really hard at that time. But yeah, thinking like, oh my God, this goes way, 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 way back.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, this has had an impact on my entire life. Yeah, it's just thinking about, again, I didn't know Brian. He wasn't a personal friend or anything, but yet there was something there, you know, something he had to offer to anybody who wanted it. I was a taker.
Yeah. Yeah, we did not know Brian. I think the 3 times between us that we've actually spoken to him totaled about 11 seconds. But something that went through my head on December 24th, 1990, as I was listening to Pet Sounds for the second time in my life, first time on CD, and first time actually getting it, and it's been my favorite album ever since. The thought that kept going through my head was, Brian wrote this for me. He knows me.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't even born for another 6.5 years after this thing came out.
Well, he wrote it.
8.5 years.
I mean, I think the reason why Pet Sounds, more than anything, I mean, a lot of his music hit people in a certain way, you know, that like the surfing music, the car music, it's either something you already had, like you already live near the ocean.
Yes.
You already had a hot rod, or it was something you wanted.
Exactly.
It was something you desired, like knowing, okay, there's something out there. And when I grow up and I can go out on my own, I can do these things, or I can have these things in whatever way that's achievable, or it's like it's something to aspire to. So, I mean, that's why it was okay that kids in the Midwest who were 1,000 miles away from the nearest ocean could still enjoy the surf songs.
Mm-hmm.
But Pet Sounds, I think it's universal truths.
It really is.
Everybody has had longing and heartbreak and, well, I'm gonna wait for you. I'm gonna wait around because eventually you're gonna want to love again, and I'll be here for that. Or wouldn't it be nice if we were older? A brand new love affair is such a beautiful thing, but if you're not careful, think about the pain it can bring. I mean,
even I want to go home, for crying out loud.
We have, everybody can find something in Pet Sounds that matches up to their own experience growing up.
Yep.
And I've said this, I don't know if I've said this on the podcast, but I know I've said it before. I'll say it again. Here you had this young man who was talented, famous, who had money, who had power, who could command a recording studio full of seasoned musicians, who could write and arrange and produce hit records, who was married to the cutest girl.
Someone very loyal, too.
He had a Corvette in his garage. He had earned varsity letters in high school. I mean, this man had it all, but yet he still could feel insecurity. He could feel longing. He could feel doubt and confusion and gratitude and hoping that the girl he loved would never leave him. And, you know, just all of the things. And I think that's why in all these tributes that you saw online, the little packages on TV, the little, you know, on the nightly news and things like that, Pet Sounds came up very, very often.
Yeah.
Or it's like, you know, he did surf music and he did Good Vibrations, but then he also did Pet Sounds.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's the universal truth. And what's really remarkable about it is that it was put out at a time when young, handsome, tall varsity athletes weren't supposed to talk about that stuff. They weren't supposed to talk about wanting to go home and feeling that they weren't made for these times. they weren't supposed to talk about these things. They weren't supposed to cry. It's like, oh, suck it up and deal. And Brian really put himself out there. I mean, the Beatles at the same time were starting to venture into that as well. On Rubber Soul, which, of course, as we know, was an inspiration for Pet Sounds. But the Beatles themselves never even did it to the depth that Brian did it.
No.
It's almost like the Beatles kind of made Brian think, okay, like, I'm going to do this. Because, I mean, he had been doing it already to some extent with songs like In My Room, Kiss Me Baby.
The Warmth of the Sun.
The Warmth of the Sun. But, you listen to like one of those songs and the next song's going to be Fast and Fun or Cars and Girls and Sun and Summer and amusement parks and blah, blah, blah. But Pet Sounds, it's the whole album. The whole album is deep.
Yep.
I mean, if he had only done Pet Sounds and never did anything else, that would have been enough. But thank God he didn't.
Oh, God, yeah. I don't want to think of a world without that lucky old son. And you're talking about how there's basically something in Brian's music for everybody, whether you're into cars or surfing or hot rods. And even if you don't have that kind of thing, I remember either the day or 2 days before Brian died, I was listening to your dad's copy of Best of the Beach Boys because it was one among the first batch of records I ever heard from the Beach Boys I got from the library. Same exact pressing too, because it has the Gray Star Line label and everything. And I remember as soon as I got that home from the library, it had a date with a Maxell. And I listened to that tape over and over and over that whole summer. And The Warmth of the Sun stuck out to me, first of all, because it's friggin' beautiful. And also that was during a time when I would go with my parents to Clearwater Beach, Florida for a couple of weeks in the summer. That's on the Gulf Coast. That song made me desperately want to see the sunset over the ocean. I mean, yeah, it's the Gulf of Mexico. Yeah, Gulf, whatever. It's part of the ocean. And you could do that there on the Gulf. I never got to see that happen over there, though, because of the marine layer would always get in the way at night, and I could never see the sunset. And so there was still that longing.
It's funny you mentioned that because for me, growing up on the East Coast, close to the ocean, to me, I think I've talked before about synesthesia.
Oh, yeah.
I really think that's one of the things that attracted me most to Brian's music, the Beach Boys music, is that it activates synesthesia all over the place. And I knew this to be true from the time I was a small child, that I could hear colors and images and just instantly think of things that the music would bring about. And it's like, for me, California Girls, the opening, just the opening of it, even though it was written on the West Coast, it was written by a Californian and all of that, to me, that opening sounded like the sunrise over the Atlantic Ocean. I mean, it was without a doubt, that's what it was. And when I would often stay at my grandmother's house, which was a little beach cottage just a block from the ocean. And if there were times that I woke up really early, I mean, I couldn't see the ocean from my bedroom window, but I could definitely see the morning light. So sometimes if I woke up really, really early, I would just open the curtain a little bit and just watch like the sky, the colors change as the sun rose up. And that's what the opening of California Girls sounds like to me. And that's kind of a cool little reversal because the Beach Boys, I think, sang more about sunsets than sunrises because that's what they would see. They would see the sunset over the ocean, where for me, it was the sunrise over the ocean. So it's like, I think it's that thing too. You make it what it is for you. I wasn't in California, but I was by an ocean and I'll take it. Like, I'll make Beach Boys about the Atlantic Ocean instead of the Pacific, and that's okay.
That's legit.
Just like kids here in Chicago, to them, it was Lake Michigan was their ocean.
And that, too, is an east-facing coast. So.
Yeah. But if you go across to
if you go, to
like
St. Joseph, Michigan, maybe.
or New Buffalo,
Yeah.
you're going to see the sun. I mean, we've seen it, the sun setting over
That's
the lake.
really cool. Oh my
It's
God.
amazing.
Yeah, you want to get some good photographs, go to New Buffalo and take some pictures when the sun starts going down over Lake Michigan.
Especially like in the kind of the peak of the summer, the Michigan coastline is just over the Eastern time zone line. So out there in like July, the sun doesn't set until like after 10 p.m. It's really, really cool.
Yeah.
It's something how there are some things that have come up in the past few days that I don't think would have happened if Brian hadn't passed. Because first of all, for a short time, we got the Beach Boys channel back on Sirius XM.
Yep.
It's running, I think, until next Wednesday. At first, I think it was only supposed to run until yesterday, but I guess they extended it because, it would be like, okay, here's this legendary person. You're only going to honor him for like a day and a half.
Why couldn't they stretch it out to his birthday?
I know, right?
The day before summer.
Well, hey, I posted on their post about bringing back the Beach Boys channel for a few days. I'm like, well, this is nice, but how about having the Beach Boys channel be from Memorial Day to Labor Day every summer? And there have been a very large number of likes on that comment because it's like, dude, why not? I mean, even if they don't want to make it Beach Boys, like, okay, throw in surf music, throw in that little beach music genre from the Carolinas.
Beach.
Yeah, Carolina beach music. Just make it like a summer channel and just have it be predominantly Beach Boys. Like have Jan and Dean stuff on there. I don't care. But
Tikiaki Orchestra.
Oh my God. No, they need their own channel.
Yes, they do. They only have like 4 albums. I don't know.
So, but okay, so we got the Beach Boys channel back for a couple days. And what's cool is the Old Town School of Folk Music here in Chicago. I got an email yesterday because I'm on the mailing list of an instructor that I took a class with it was during the pandemic, actually. He's running, I think, a 6-week workshop, like meeting like 6 sessions once a week in July and August. Beach Boys for guitar and ukulele. And it's like, you play guitar, I play ook. It's like, why didn't you just like come to my house and invite me personally? It's like, or it's like how they have the van with the sign that says free candy. I mean, you just write on it like Beach Boys Ensemble and you could kidnap me so easily.
And just to clarify, the Old Town School of Folk Music is a nonprofit music school that has been around for about going close to 70 years, I think. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And one of its most famous students, Roger McGuinn.
Yeah. Speaking of Roger McGuinn, he took guitar lessons there.
And that's where John Prine started too. So, but anyway.
Yeah, so, and then another person is offering a 1-day, well, this person has several just 1-day harmony workshops in different areas. Like I think she has a Motown one and like that. But she's going to have a Beach Boys one in July. Of course, I don't know how much you can get done in just an hour and a half, but we're going to go and we're going to see what it's like.
At that one Beach Boys convention, I don't know if it was Stomp or something else, Sean McGreevy had a harmony workshop that was about an hour long that ended with everybody singing Our Prayer. Okay, if this workshop is going to be Our Prayer, I'm going to be irked because I still know my part from when we did it before. It's like, I didn't learn anything.
All right. Well, if it makes you feel better, you can sing the alto part, okay?
No.
Because that is wicked hard.
No, I am not singing no alto part. I heard what you had to sing. It's like, wait, what are you doing? Is that the same song?
So it's like I get to delve into Beach Boys music because we used to have a Beach Boys ensemble, but it hasn't been offered in quite a few years. I need this.
Well, yeah, because the teacher isn't there anymore. That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
Kathy's ensembles, Kathy, hi if you're listening, and if you're not listening, hi anyway. We're 16 weeks instead of the usual 8 weeks because that's how insane the music is to try to teach people.
I mean, it took us pretty much 16 weeks plus some additional time to just learn heroes and villains.
Yeah, seriously.
Because, man, that thing is hard.
And we still didn't get it right.
Doesn't matter. It was, I
think vocally it was fine. I think it was everything
hard,
else.
But it was worth it. So, yeah, I have this strong desire to.
You know what else I found really hard? And I think I talked to you about this offline. In my room. For me, it was, at least, because I have kind of a bass voice. I was always assigned the Mike Love bass parts. That was hard. I mean, I imagine the Brian, Carl, and Dennis parts, those are easy, but Mike's is hard because it's not parallel to the way that the Wilson brothers.
Well, that's kind of how, Do It Again was really difficult for me because the part I had to sing was not parallel. Yeah, Do It Again.
You got slammed with a lot of hard stuff.
Do It Again was hard. Range. Do It Again was hard. And Little Bird, the part
I love doing that.
I know. Well, yeah, you had the melody, I think.
Yeah. I was Dennis for that song. I was honored.
But the part I had to do, because I often would kind of go between alto and high tenor, because I can do that. And yeah, the part I had to do in Little Bird, because it's not something that you obviously hear in the song. It's there, but you kind of have to dig down for it. That was the same case with Do It Again. And wouldn't it be nice was just, I can't find a part that I can sing in that. It just doesn't work for me.
Even though you were specifically assigned a part?
Yeah, it just doesn't work for me.
You know what I found hard about that song? The Run Run Wee Oo part, because I had a really hard time finding the notes on there, which is weird coming from a guy with perfect pitch, mind you, because I could just never remember. It was like, run, run, wee oo. It's like, which one is the right note? The run, run part was, but when you got to the wee oo, it's like, wait, is it wee oo or wee oo?
But it's just things that you sing in your car and it's like, oh, this is great. And then you actually go to sing it for real. And it's like, no, this is not great. Or it's like, I hate my part. Then there's things like how I thought Good Vibrations would be really hard. That's not hard at all.
That's not hard. That really isn't hard.
Good Vibrations is super easy.
Yeah.
Heroes and Villains, though.
Yeah. You know what I think what it might have helped us out is if we had Brian there himself, because I don't know if you've seen it, but I think it is in the Our Team documentary, that half-hour thing that's about 5,000 generations removed from the source that goes around. There is a scene when they're recording Mike Come Back to L.A. over at MIU. I think it's at MIU. And Brian is literally walking around pointing at people and singing their part to him. He'll point at Billy Hinchy and say, Mike, come back to L.A. And they'll point at somebody else and say, Mike, come back to L.A. And he's walking around just distributing that line in different...
Yeah, but you're still going to have to do 64 takes of it.
Well, yeah, because
because somebody had an impure thought. I mean, yeah, I know there are people who get all bent at Mike talking about it. He was like Stalin. And I mean, I do not doubt that at all. And there's something, I think it was in...
I think we're going to hear you mention that in episode 27 too, by the way.
In the Smile documentary, the recording session things where we see Brian on the talkbacks, telling people what they did wrong. And it's like...
And I remember one of the times we stayed behind at a Brian concert and we were talking to some people and I overheard Probin say, Brian is exhausting to work with in the studio.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't doubt that for a moment. So I don't know if I'd want Brian to be there.
Just to distribute the parts, and then maybe send him away to get some burgers or something.
No. Then the phone will ring. He'll be a mile away and he'll be like, somebody's a quarter tone sharp. He just knows. Yep. He got a vibe.
You got a vibe. Yep.
But I'm really looking forward, especially since, I played clarinet in school. I really do enjoy playing the ukulele, but I am the world's worst person at practicing an instrument. I don't think I ever brought my clarinet home except for like the summer. I mean, I never practiced at home. I just have, I don't know. I'm not very disciplined about that. And I don't think I'm musical enough to want to like take out an instrument and play it all the time. It's like I have the desire, but not the actual work ethic. But so I'm kind of happy that I have an excuse to really pull out the ook again.
Oh, yeah.
Because I haven't played it in a while.
I haven't played my acoustic in a while, so this will be...
So I'm also interested in how this is going to go in terms of, because Beach Boys songs aren't necessarily ook friendly. Well, they're not string friendly at all. And I have been able to play a few songs pretty decently, but that's after severely capoing the ook. So I'm wondering if this instructor is either going to have us do that or if he is going to have arrangements in easier keys.
I would imagine he could make it the arrangements easier.
I know from taking a class with this instructor before, I took an ook class, a Beatles ook class, and he spent a lot of time talking about like different fingerings. Like I think he's really kind of dug deep into how to find alternate fingerings for chords on the ook that make things easier, make changes easier, or things like, just keep your finger down on this string and you just have to lift this finger. So stuff that you might not know off the top, or it's like a fingering that is close enough to the chord that you want. I think there might be a lot of that too. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, especially given this is the guy who did a workshop on the Beatles once and talked about how they were not professional musicians. And as such, they got some things wrong. Well, we're going to correct them. We're going to put in the chords that are incorrect. We're going to put the correct ones in. I wish I would have taken that workshop. I really wish I did. But oh, well,
so,
off topic. We're going a little 271 here. Oh, that's another thing. Speaking of 271, what else has happened in the past few days? PSML has started to explode. Jake Fouts is back.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wait, PSML?
Yes.
Holy
crap. Yeah, I keep telling you, it's still active, but lately it's like kaboom.
What, did people kind of go there for like a memorial
Pretty
thing?
much. And and everybody's like, oh my God, where have you been?
I don't even know. Yeah, tell me offline. I don't even know where to find it.
Neither do I. I just never unsubscribed.
The email address that I used, I don't even remember how to log into it. So I'd have to basically rejoin it.
Yeah, the topics now are basically Brian Wilson dead at 82 and oh my God, I haven't thought of you in years.
Okay, yeah, I wanna open that door.
Oh boy.
Because I mean, we're talking like, I don't know, well over 25 years ago. This was a thing, the Pet Sounds mailing list.
It started in 1993.
Yeah. Well, it was the Dumb Angel list.
It was Surf's Up at the time, and it was a weekly digest run by Ethan Jones, and it became the Beach Boys mailing list when Mike Wheeler took it over. And after that, I want to say somebody named Dave, like David Foyle or something, I think, took it over and called it the Surf's Up mailing list, and then Leon took it over and became Pet Sounds mailing list. I think Ted Nolan is in charge of it now. I think Leon, just in the last year or so, kind of relinquished control over it to someone else. So.
Yeah, I don't remember when I stopped going there. I mean, but I definitely was still on there like in the early 2000s, because when Brian started touring again, we had T-shirts made up so that we could like find each other at shows. Mm-hmm. We still have our shirts.
Yeah, they're somewhere in a box.
Yeah, green with the Pet Sounds font.
And speaking of which, this something just recently, this was probably a couple of days before the 11th, when it occurred to me that two of the most iconic Beach Boys things in terms of fontage, the yellow Cooper font and the green background, and of course the wacky Brady Bunchy Gilligan's Island-y smile font, those are so iconic despite having nothing to do with the Beach Boys or Brian. They didn't have any input in that. Like the Pet Sounds fonts, that's all from the Capitol Art Department. The Smile font with the lowercase I, Brian didn't come up with that as far as I know. That was from possibly Frank Holmes.
Well, it was. I mean, it was like a custom font, wasn't it?
It's not like like the Smile thing isn't a typeset because you notice the letters don't quite match up. But that's just something that occurred to me, that these things that people I so identify with Brian about, they had no input from him. It's just what happened to be on the artwork. And especially how so many people insist on spelling smile all capital letters except the I, which is lowercase. Like Brian didn't call it smut. He just wrote it out the regular way. So, I mean, it's just interesting that people have that habit. And it just kind of reminded me of my dad's writing, because he always, kind of like me, my dad always wrote all capital letters, but he would always dot the I, and it always drove me nuts. It's like, Dad, don't dot. No, oh, you dotted the I. But I don't know where I was going with that. Just an observation.
Yeah, and I think you had said you saw something that CBS is going to show the Grammy special, the Beach Boys special.
The Grammy thing they did in 2023. That's going to be on from the night we're recording this tomorrow. That's most likely in the past for those of you listening.
And I'm sure somebody is going to be showing Love and Mercy.
Oh, I hope so.
I don't know if I'm ready for that yet.
And Summer Dreams.
Yeah, let's hope that.
Like one of those weird channels on Pluto or something.
Yeah. The Bad Beach Boys movie channel. And
speaking of which, we probably should wrap up soon. But before we do, I just wanted to bring up something. We got a response from somebody who heard our episode about the documentaries. It was just a very simple response. Hey, have you seen this one? And it was a YouTube link. Maybe this one will be better for you. And it was a pretty haphazard thrown together thing that somebody obviously did on iMovie. I use iMovie a lot. I know iMovie when I see it. And with just a British voiceover and just random clips from thing. And I kind of liked watching it, but at the same time, it had the same exact problem the other documentaries had. It was like, oh, the Beach Boys, yeah, Pet Sounds, oh, Brian's a genius, oh, Good Vibrations, Smile, and Endless Summer.
Yeah.
It was pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
And something else I wanted to mention that I hope we get this out in time for this. I really question the need to mention this because I got a feeling that they don't need our help with this because of the attention it got. But in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania, on Brian's birthday, June 20th, there's going to be a celebration of Brian at the Kibitz Room. If I didn't say that, you do need a reservation ahead of time for that. They're limited to 180 people. So look them up online, the Kibitz Room in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania, not Cherry Hill, New Jersey. It's going to be June 20th from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. A donation will be requested. I believe the donation goes to a Alzheimer's charity, I think. So you will be requested to make a donation. Al Jardine is going to have a special video made just for the event. So check it out if you're on the East Coast or if you can get to the East Coast. Sadly, we will not be able to do that. But we just wanted to give a plug for that in case you haven't heard. Please check it out.
So yeah, it's like we're kind of in a new reality now. I mean, it's like we knew that Brian pretty much was retired from touring, from public appearances. Even though I think some things were kind of going on, we didn't really, it's not like we knew he was working on an album or we weren't expecting anything new from him. And it was just more like everybody was like, okay, let him be healthy and comfortable and safe and cared for, and let him just be with his loved ones, his family and his friends, and just
live his life.
Be happy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think we already had, to some extent, said goodbye to him, but now it's really, it's done.
Yeah.
But it's like, the same thing I think both of us realized when our fathers passed. You can't lose somebody twice.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, you have that shock of the news, you have the tears, then you just are like, okay, here's the new reality. And of course, when it is a loved one, when it is someone closer to you, there's much more involved.
Oh, yeah.
But when you lose anybody that you care about to any extent, you kind of have to say, okay, here's what I have to do. And you grieve in whatever way you need to. And you take care of yourself. If it's something where you really need some kind of help, get help. I mean, if anybody is struggling with the loss of Brian or anybody else, call 988 and get referred to some mental health assistance if you need it, if you don't already have a therapist or a psychologist. And you just got to take care of yourself. And if there's some days where you hear a Brian song and it's kind of rough, let yourself be in that moment. Like, it's okay if hearing a song makes you sad where it didn't make you sad before. It's okay.
It just makes me think of something that Brian or somebody representing Brian would say when there would be a post on a message board if he'd suddenly get involved in a conversation. Like if somebody was having a bad day or something, Brian would say, or whoever was posting on his behalf, and say, pick one of my songs and listen to it. That's from me to you.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think something that helps me out is I'm thinking about the people that we as fans of whatever have lost in the past. Dennis, 39 years old, drowned. Basically, he had all kinds of problems. Carl, 51, cancer. John Lennon, murdered. George Harrison, cancer. All those things. Brian, 82, I'm going to assume natural causes.
Yeah,
Just,
I mean, we don't have any official statement from his family.
We don't even know when he actually passed.
Yeah, like we don't
10th
have
or
any
11th.
We don't have anything official from his family or his representatives, but Al did say in a Rolling Stone interview that he was thankful to know that Brian went in his sleep, that he passed peacefully.
Yeah, and
that
the whole thing that I feel is that his life's work was done. He might have declared himself finished. He's like, you know what? I did it.
Mm-hmm.
I did what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
Carl wasn't done. Dennis wasn't done.
No.
Brian, mission accomplished.
Yeah.
Over and over.
Yeah. I mean, look at all he has left behind. We are so blessed.
Yeah.
We are so lucky.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll always have that.
Yep.
And we have good memories of all the people we've met that, of course, we can still talk to and get together with. All the concerts we went to, even like traveling that we did because of, I mean, the first time we went to Toronto, it was to see Brian when he was promoting the Gershwin album.
Mm-hmm.
And, we've been to Carnegie Hall. We've been to the Hollywood Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
We've been to
the Ryman.
We've been to the Ryman in
Chicago
Nashville.
Theater.
The Chicago Theater. We've been to some wonderful, wonderful venues because of Brian.
We've been to wonderful venues. We've been to crappy venues. We've been to in-between venues.
What was the crappy? I don't remember really going.
The Fisher-Price Theater, as you like to call it. Which apparently I heard from our friend Slice is getting renovated.
Well, okay. That's good.
And so if we want to see Al there too, maybe it's a good excuse to check.
No.
Yeah, we got Al and the Pet Sounds Band coming up this summer.
Yeah, that's another
I'm
thing.
excited about that.
That's another thing that I'm looking forward to, and I'm very, very glad, because I think Al even mentioned this either in a post or in an interview, that he was thankful that this was something that was discussed with Brian. Brian gave his blessing, for Al and members of the Brian Wilson Band to go out on the road.
He also apparently knew about that celebration at the Kibitz Room too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think Gene Sievers told him. He was pretty excited that was going to be happening.
Aw. So yeah, you just kind of take these things and you just hold them in your heart and carry on.
Yep.
I mean, even like John Lennon said after when the Beatles broke up, he's like, you have all the records.
But at the same time, it's like, yeah, we have all the records, but there aren't going to be any new ones that we. But
well,
thing
yeah,
is,
and that's a different case
it's
because
a different
the
case.
Beatles were still young and
yeah,
still doing things, but
and I don't feel.
I still get it from John's perspective.
Yeah.
Like as far as John was concerned, the Beatles are done. That chapter is over. The movie credits have rolled. This is all there's that you're gonna have, but you got some great stuff. So enjoy that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like with Brian, I feel differently because, well, first of all, I kind of figured that At My Piano was going to be his last album. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, he's not. He'll go in and record a one-off song, which he did. The Glenn Campbell thing he did not too long ago. But I was okay with that because, again, like I mentioned much earlier in this episode, I know there's a treasure trove of material that Brian recorded either formally or just as demos that we have yet to hear. Some of it's going to be kind of, some of it's going to be effing brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it might be in between. And I will always look forward to hearing more of it. So Brian might no longer physically be here, but he's still not done giving us joy.
Yes, that's what it's all about.
He's not done giving us old joy. He's certainly not done giving us new joy.
That's right.
But anyway, should we call it a day?
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
a day.
It's been a day. It's been a week.
Yeah.
A lot going on in our world and our lives and everything. So
Yeah. So we, spoiler alert, we already have another episode in the can that will hopefully be coming out in not 3 months, but sooner. And I gotta confess, I don't remember what the topic was, but anyway, thank you everybody for listening to it. Oh, I remember the other thing that I wanted to say. David Leaf told us that he would join us again for a Q&A episode regarding his Smile book. Figured now be a good time to bring that up since pretty much everybody who's had it probably had a chance to read it at this point. If you have a question for David Leaf, send it to us. You can do it over social media. Listen to our closing credits for our email address. I'm going to confess, I don't remember it off the top of my head. Oh boy. I know I have the email set up and everything. I just don't remember what the address is. I think it's like tunexpodcast@gmail.com. Well, just listen to the closing credits. You'll hear it. We'll get ready for David if we get a pretty good number of questions, and we'll invite him back on the podcast. So, yeah, that's all I had to say. Do you have anything further?
no,
All
I
right,
think
well,
we're done.
well, hey, this has been episode number 26 of Tune X Podcast with your co-host, Sean.
And Lisa.
And, bye. Thank you for listening to the TuneX podcast. Please leave us a review at Apple Podcasts or iTunes.
You can hear us on Apple Podcasts, Amazon, and just about every other provider out there. If TuneX isn't on your favorite provider, please let us know.
You can email us at tunexpodcast@gmail.com. Our website, which includes the show notes, is tunex.fab4it.com. Fab4IT is spelled F-A-B and then the number 4 and then I-T.
Feel free to connect with us on social media. TuneX is on Facebook, and we're also on Instagram and Twitter, both under the handle of TuneX Podcast.
Our opening and closing theme, Melody 10, was written and performed by Scattered Frog.
We'll talk to you next time, friends. Until then, don't back down from that wave.
I feel like if I don't get my butt in gear and get on that stage and do my songs, then I should quit the business.
Really?
Yeah.
When did you start to feel that?
Yesterday.